All right, well, hey, everybody, welcome, and excited to be here with some of my close friends, Noah and Natalie Weatherly, and as Brian said, our ministry plan, a key part of that is life groups. It's been a part of who we are, as a part of our DNA as a church, really, and so these last few weeks, we've just taken some time to really share and for you guys to hear from people who are in life group and what it's been like, especially during COVID, and so Noah, Natalie, welcome. Why don't you guys introduce yourself and tell us specifically how did you guys initially get connected to Life Group here at Antioch?
Well, since you introduced us, I'm going to let Natalie say that. But we're the Weatherlys. We have 4 children. We've been here for about 3 years, and I'll let Natalie kind of tell you how we got over here.
I tried to keep it short because there's so many details to that story, but I was at a park in Burleson, and I randomly ran into Aaron Sones, who I briefly met at a Bible study here at Antioch. That was my only encounter with Antioch before. And we talked for a little bit, and then she left to go to her car to leave with her kids. And then she turned around and came back, and she had this little piece of paper in her hand, and it said, invite. So she came back, and she said, Natalie, I felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me to invite you to our life group, but I just didn't want to do it. So I walked away, and then I picked up this random piece of paper that says invite, so I knew I had to come back and invite you. Well, she didn't know that we were coming out of a dry season. We left a church plan that we helped build in Fort Worth. We moved to Burleson. We thought a new church would be the new church for us, but it didn't work out. And then suddenly Noah's dad passed away. So we were coming out of a 2-year dry, sad, grieving season. And she didn't know that. So that was I don't even know, a week before we said, we need to find a church, it's time. We've been just not connected, isolated, just going through that season by ourselves. So she invited us, and we just went that Sunday to the Chapatin and Sones life group, and we walked in, which was so good. They welcomed us. It helped because they knew Noah's parents who used to go here, and he felt at home. He felt connected right away. So they carried us through for 2 years. We had 2 babies during that time. He was built up by the guys, really good discipleship, and it got to a point where we felt like, okay, they carried us, but now it's time for us to do something too. So our life group in Burleson kind of dissolved because people started moving, and then Micah invited Noah to their life group. So Noah took all 4 kids by themselves on a Tuesday evening, dragged all 4 kids while I was at work. And he loved it, so he came home and said, well, you're going to a girls' night next week. And everything in me, another year, my dad passed away that year, coming out of a really hard year, everything in me wanted to stay home and not go because I didn't know anyone. Well, he pushed me, and then I went with the girls who just welcomed me. And since then, we've been in the now Weatherly life group. It was the Jones and Nichols life group that multiplied. So we're leading the life group now.
Wow. Amen. What I love about that is just that you're just doing life, right? And the good times and some of the really hard times. And God just, he used life group in y'all's story, and drawing you to himself. And so I think that's really beautiful. And so obviously we've been in the COVID season here. Noah, tell us a little bit about how our life group has navigated that time.
So we stood up here about a year ago and gave a testimony, and one of the things I harped on at the time was just the importance of not being isolated and not just trying to do stuff on your own and come to church on Sundays, because it's really not the way it's set up to be. And Acts is full of it, but let's go to Hebrews. Let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another all the more as we see the day approaching. So the importance there is 2020 ate a lot of people's lunches because it exposed a lot of people that were isolated already. I saw marriages fall apart all over the place. I saw friendship dissolve. And Satan salivates when we isolate. And there's no more important time for us to do this right now. Our life group has been meeting on Zoom for the past 12 months or so, and we've experienced so much fruit through that. And I'd like to break down it into three different segments. We have the church, but then we have life groups, but then within life groups we have subgroups. And that's guys with guys, girls with girls, and it's that's where the real discipleship happens within life groups. So, and that's where accountability happens. That's where brokenness happens. So, to the camera, guys, if you guys are sitting at home and you're struggling, don't do it on your own. There's really no reason for that. The Bible's chock full of examples of where Satan really loves to attack you in your isolation and hit you where you know you're vulnerable. And the only way to get around that is to do it with other people and to carry that burden with others, not yourself.
Yeah, it's good. All right, y'all give it up for the Weatherlys here. Thank you, guys.